Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, I kind of got a shop project today that I've been thinking about for quite a while, and I just thought I'd take everybody along on a ride on this too. It's not going to be very long, I don't think. It's you know, with my press that I use quite a bit, you know, primarily for pressing crankshafts apart and back together. I've just always felt like it stores way too much kinetic energy, or it's just not stiff enough. And I'm gonna take you down here and show you why I think that. And you know, actually why I think it is because when I'm taking a crankshaft apart, it's not a big player because it just pops, you know, and that's what it does. It pops and it all comes apart and it jerks. But I think it's because of the flexibility of the frame. And it's not a big player when I'm taking them apart, but when I put it back together, that popping causes it to travel too far when I'm trying to set up a tolerance. And I've actually found over the years, I've figured out how to work with it, even though it's not the optimum. You know, I'll take the last couple thousandths or something and just hit it with a copper hammer or whatever until I get it right. Or maybe I'll put some shims in so that it can't overcorrect or whatever. But anyhow, let me take you down there. Let's take a look at this. I'll show you what I've got in mind. Okay, you can see here where they use this. This is kind of normal for most press makers to make this in using U-channel. And really it's not all even that thick. It's not even quite 3/16. And when I pulled this out, well, even here, you can see it. This flexes a lot. And you know, I don't know why they put this big hole here. I've utilized that several times for straightening fork tubes. It gives me a little extra length, but it's not necessary. I can actually put them in here at an angle and accomplish the same thing. But right now I'm not going to do anything about those. What I did was I went down to my local metal supplier and I had them cut me 2 pieces of 3/16. This is 3/16 material, which is thicker than that material is. 7 inches wide by 64 long. And I'm going to put them in here and box this this channel in. I don't think it's going to affect anything that I'm doing. I'll still have a little extra length here. You know, I'm going to leave this for the time being. If this does what I want it to do, then I don't need to mess with that, and that'll give me another, oh, what, 4 inches maybe if I do it on both sides. And by boxing this in, this is the slide. It looks like everything will clear. You know, maybe if I get a weld out here too far or something, it'll be, you know, it'll limit that, but I can always grind that off. But I'm just going to go from basically the bottom all the way to the top of the U-channel here and just stitch weld this in on both sides. You know, it's got to do something. You know, this is a good company, this Carolina, and you know, probably for a lot of use it would be okay, and it was for many years. But I do a lot more of those crankshafts and have done bigger ones over the years, and it's just getting to be kind of a headache to try to deal with that popping. You know, otherwise you get so much pressure on this material and all of a sudden it stretches or whatever it does. It just moves around. I'm sure my friendly mechanical engineer from across the pond can tell me all the problems that I have with this, and I would certainly welcome them. So Dean, if you're if you're listening, if you see anything else that might be causing that issue, I would sure appreciate your input, if you would, please. But that's what I'm looking at right now, is that I'm going to try to box those in. You know, the pins are still going to go in the way they're supposed to go in. And like I say, the only thing I see is the possibility of this maybe hanging up on a weld, but if it does, I can grind the weld off so that it's not going to be a problem with that. So, you know, I don't think this is an issue, because we've got an inch plate up here, and it's welded to the two C channels here, and all that's welded together. You know, it could probably use another stitch or two. Maybe I will put that in. But this here, all this is doing is supporting the jack. The jack transfers its energy down through here, and it's going, like I say, into this inch plate, and then that's probably almost 3/16 up there. And this piece here is supported by the pins that go in, so I really don't think you can do much to that to beef that up. So right now I'm just looking at trying to box this in and to stiffen it in that way. And let me get my tripod here. I think I'm going to leave enough room here where I can get to these bolts down here, so I'll put the plate in just above there, because all that's doing is holding it to my skids on the bottom. I want to be able to get to those bolts if I can, so I'll just bring it up a little bit further here into the I-beam, or the C channel, and then weld it on the back side of that also. But that's really the only thing that I'm seeing right now that might cause a problem. So let me set that up so you can see what I'm talking about. See, I'd actually cut it to meet that, and then I saw this and I thought, well, I do need to be able to get to those. So it looks like if I go to just about the top of the C channel here, and that might be a good thing because it'll tie it into the top also. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I took a measurement on this material they used to build this out of, and I forgot what it was. Let me measure it again. Okay, this is about 0.160. So it's a little bigger than 5/32. That's about what I am. And the 3/16 should be about 185 or so. I think it's supposed to be 187, but I'm getting about 180. Well, it depends on where I'm at. About 180, 181 is what I'm getting on that. So it's pretty close. It is definitely thicker than this, but not by a lot. Actually, I could probably done the same thing if I'd have got 1/8 inch and just boxing this in. But I thought the 3/16 would be a better way to go. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some blocks and set them up at the bottom so that I can still get to the cross bolts down there, and then we'll go ahead and start tacking this thing on. Okay, so I brought this up high enough where I could get to the bolts down here. I don't think that's going to have any detrimental effect for the working area up here. That's just kind of the feet. I did, you know, they did a good job cutting this one, at least this one, and everything is lined up pretty good. But when I got down here at the bottom, you could see I had overhang on this side, and of course it was not quite flush with this side, so I used a C-clamp and a couple here to pull that in line. So that should help too, is, you know, trying to keep everything in line with it. So I think I can probably go ahead and start putting some tack welds on it. Eventually I'll probably, when I get ready to really weld it, I'll lay it down so that it's a lot easier to weld than trying to do it upright. And this will give me a good way to tie into here and here. That should stiffen it. And I'll also get up here and I'll put a couple more welds in here to try to stiffen this up too. Don't know whether that's really needed, but just need to do something. You know, these presses are not necessarily cheap. You know, I think I give maybe $2.50 for this over at Sam's Club, and then I replaced the jack on it with the air over hydraulic. So, you know, I've got a little bit more into it, and now I'm doing this. But if you were to buy a good Dake press or something, you'd be probably between $1,000 and $2,000, probably more than that, really, tell you the truth, for the same comparable size. And you know, a lot of people on YouTube, you can see a lot of modifications done to these. The Harbor Freight one is usually what you see, but this is probably really designed pretty close. It's this is supposedly made here in South Carolina, but you know, it's probably one of their cheaper ones. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and stitch weld, or at least spot weld some of this, and then I'll probably just lay it down and weld it. But I'm going to go ahead and get the other side tacked in also. I think I can turn that down a little bit. Nice hot weld though. Okay, just spun it around. I've got my blocks under here. I've got a 2x4 and a 2x1. And that gives me just about the clearance that I need. Yeah, see, I can see this side is kind of bent too. More so than the other side, probably from getting the other side right. So I'm definitely going to have to pull it in. What I may need to do is loosen those bolts at the bottom and then tack this in and then retighten those bolts. So I think I'll do that. Let me get you handheld here a minute and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can see here where it's it's hanging over on this side, and as I get to the top, it's pretty much flush, and pretty much flush here, maybe a little in, but you can see here there's quite a gap. And I had the same situation on the other side, but not as severe. So I think I'll go ahead and pull these in with the clamps, then loosen them and see where it goes from there. Okay, I've got this stitch welded up here and all the way down, and there's some of them that kind of interfere with this a little bit, so I'll probably grind a few of the taller ones off. Same thing over here, and I think maybe I did find another source of some flexing. See, they just had it welded here on each end on both sides, and I put a couple more stitches in, especially right here in the middle where the pressure is being exerted, and then welded these on the inside here too. So it's got to help some. It's got to help. When I lifted it back up, besides being extra heavy, it seems more sturdy. It doesn't flex around when you're pulling it around on the floor or whatever. So it's got to be helping something. So maybe if some of you folks are running into some of the same issues I am, maybe boxing it in will help. I'll be doing a RM 250 crankshaft pretty soon, so I'll be able to tell if I've gained any ground on this. Okay, hopefully I did something besides just make it heavier. It does seem a lot sturdier, but the proof, they say, is in the pudding. So we'll see when I do the next crankshaft if it helped much or any at all. I think it's got to help some. And actually I'm thinking that this here may have been a source too. Like I said, they had welds on each end. This one plate was still welded to the bottom and it overlapped it. But you know, it's not going to hurt anything. My welds are not the greatest in the world, but rarely do I have one break. So I think they just look bad. I like that. Okay guys, there you have it. Just a short little video on what I'm doing to make my shop press a little more rigid. There's tons of videos out there. I didn't run into any that did what I did. But I didn't, most of those were Harbor Freight, and they didn't have those big holes that I was telling you about where I stick the fork tubes through there because just to get a little more length. I don't know what they were thinking about, the manufacturer, when they did that, but it's treated me good for that kind of stuff. And I've still got that about 4 inches, about 2 inches in each side that I can utilize. If this looks like it's going to be a big player as far as rigidity goes, I may be able to go over to the other and just flame cut that out a little bit. I don't know. But right now I just need it to act a little better when I'm putting crankshafts together. That's my main thing I use that thing for. That and forks, really. That's really about it. But I can get by with the forks by sticking it out the back or kind of diagonally or something. But if you've got a problem, I just thought I'd share this and show you what I'm doing. And if you watch the next crankshaft build that I do, then you'll know whether it helped or not. You know, there's really no way of knowing right now. Moving it back in place, it seemed more rigid. Before it would give and twist and all that. So I know I've made some headway, but how much I don't know yet. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.